Hello, my darlings. As you can see, this isn't a Bakugo fanfiction, so this makes it even more important that you watch the video until the end, like or dislike, and comment something down below. And share. No, seriously, it is really important. Like the Ayazawa fanfiction from yesterday. Holy fuck, was that one bad. Anyways, if you would like to support me more directly, you can support me on Patreon and on a merch store that I have. Both links are down in the description. And if you're new here and think I deserve it, why not leave a little sub and hit the bell icon to join my beautiful, darling doll army. Seriously though, I can't stretch it enough. This isn't a Bakugo story, so sharing it around and watching it until the end is genuinely serious here, you know. I really liked writing this one though. It was fun. Enjoy. Your biggest difficulty in life was ignoring mutation quirks. Everyone just seemed to be okay with them. Sure, they were humans, just like you. There was just something about people whose mutation disfigured them in a normal sense that you just needed to stare. Maybe others didn't need to stare because it had become that normal for them. But just watching a 5 feet tall cactus man who walked around in a business suit was the weirdest and funniest thing to you. Due to your weird, borderline racist fascination with mutations, you had early on decided to become a hero. Your goal being to see as many weird mutation people as possible. Luckily, with your powerful quirk, you managed to get into a prestigious private school called UA. You often wondered if you would ever get in trouble if your fellow students knew the real reason why you specifically chose UA. It wasn't the prestige, it was more the fact that you hoped to see something completely crazy. To you, just going to this school was already an adventure. And you found yourself often staring at the different students in the cafeteria. There was, for example, one student whose giant orc-like teeth made it difficult to eat larger bites. So he cut his food into very tiny pieces. But that was not just it. Probably due to the small bites, he seemed to enjoy the taste even more. The guy was constantly talking about food. Another one was a girl with fish scales, who always ordered the same fried salmon, making you wonder if this could be considered cannibalism. Of course you couldn't ask anyone that question, so your mind always raced with that specific thought whenever she sat somewhere close to you. And then there was your classmate Mina Ashido, a bubbly girl with pink hair and skin, almost entirely black eyes, and horns just slightly poking through her hair. You had found yourself staring at her during class. When she was occupied with something, you did it more obvious. Other times, you just glanced. Right now, you were reviewing the stuff your teacher, President Mike, had droned on about. The topic boring him just as much as the rest of the class. When suddenly, 2 pink hands hit your table. With an intimidated look, you slowly looked up into the smiling face of Mina, a grin going from ear to ear. "Hey?" you asked.
"Hey, do you want to go shopping with me later?"
You blinked.
"You don't have to if you don't want to."
You shook your head. No, Yeah, sure, but why?" Her toothy grin turned into an innocent, almost shy one.
"I noticed you're staring at me."
She played with a strand of her hair. Wait, was she interested in you? This could be your chance. With a mild stutter, you replied, Yeah, I would love to, Mina." She giggled.
"I'll pick you up after class."
She winked and went back to her table, reading over something in her notes. Your heart began to pound against your chest. Was this a date or just two friends hanging out? What if she thought you disliked her and this was some sort of way to see why? Wait, in that case, why would you say yes? You were so in thought, you only noticed the others were leaving for physical training when your class president, Ida, slapped you hard on the back, demanding to know why you took so long to get ready. Once school was over a couple of hours later, you went straight for the entrance of UA. Mina already waiting for you, with a bright smile on her face. So, where do we go shopping? The mall? You asked.
Shopping district,
she said as you two started walking. You didn't question it. Ever since the two malls opened in the city, the shopping district was at a decline. Shops that were having the same stuff as the malls were struggling, while specialty stores were having a mild boom. When you two arrived in the almost empty streets lined with small private businesses, you had brought up the courage to ask her something. I got 2 questions. She looked at you expectantly.
One is this a date? And 2, if this is a date, can I hold your hand?
Why were you blushing so hard? She giggled, and without saying another word, she took your hand with a smile. Your heart fluttered. Why you? Her hand felt soft, softer than any hand you had ever touched. Not that there were many. Was it because of her quirk, or her mutation, or both? And why wasn't your hand melting? How far did the control of her acid go? Was it something natural, or could she control it? Your mind began to wander for possible theories. Then you two round a corner, and the sun shined right into your face, the sun brightness throwing you off, and you squeaked. Mina giggled. What's wrong? She asked. It's just a little bright, he answered with a blush. By the way, you started. Where are we going?
Almost there.
You blinked, and then she pointed at a clothing store.
This one sells quirk-resistant clothing. It's a little more expensive, but better than to constantly replace shirts and stuff.
You two entered. The small store was empty except for a male clerk snoring behind the counter. No visible mutation on him. Then Mina sat you down in front of the changing room, before she began rushing through the various aisles. You began chewing on your lower lip. What did she see in you? Was she just curious and thought a date would be the best way to find out more about you? Eventually, she slipped into the changing room. In a few minutes, she stepped out of it.
What do you think?
She was wearing a blue dress with a similar pattern to her hero costume. It fit her figure quite nice, the light material seemingly flowing everywhere. Ah, you said out loud, without thinking, by complete accident. She turned her attention to you after twirling around once.
That sounded like a genuine reaction.
You smiled shyly.
Do you really like it that much?
She asked. You nodded.
Yeah, the soft colors accentuate your pink skin.
She raised an eyebrow and you blushed.
Was that racist?
She laughed in response. Only if you think it's bad. You didn't.
I think I'll buy it.
She went through more outfits. You had quickly realized, if it had been any other person, this would have been unbelievably boring. But her happy persona kept your spirits up. With a large bag full of clothes, you two eventually left the shop. After quietly wandering around, no real destination in mind, You eventually brought up the courage to ask. Why me? Mina gave you a confused look.
I mean, there are others. Katsuki or Ichiro. What makes me so special?
She felt a bead of sweat run down her forehead. She couldn't be honest with you. In truth, it had been a dare between her, Jiro, and Momo. She didn't even expect to enjoy her time with you. After all, you were considered a creep due to your constant staring. Not as bad as Minetta, of course. So, to not ruin the mood, and to keep you happy, she just smiled and said, "You are looking at me for a while now, and I wanted to know why. And to be honest, I thought you'd be a weirdo, but you're actually kinda cute." You blushed and looked at the ground, embarrassed. "Sorry," you mumbled. "What are you sorry for?" She nudged your shoulder. "It worked, didn't it?" You gulped. Probably sensing your embarrassment, she gently took your hand in hers. "Everything is fine. Nothing to worry about." Mina led you to a small park at the outskirts of the shopping district. It had a small pond where ducks were happily quacking. She sat down on a bench and then patted the spot next to her. After sitting down yourself, she leaned over to you. Her head gently nestled on your shoulder. You felt her soft, warm body and slow breathing. Your heart was almost jumping out of your chest. She smelled like cherries. Your lips began to quiver ever so slightly. And then, something suddenly poked your cheek, and she retreated. "Sorry," she said while rubbing the back of her head in embarrassment. You rubbed over the spot. It didn't hurt. "What was that?" you asked, and she blushed even harder. "My horns." She sounded even more embarrassed than you did earlier. It was really cute. After twiddling your thumbs for a bit, you broke the awkward silence. "Can I touch them?" Her eyes widened. "Your horns, I mean." When she didn't answer, you looked away. "Sorry, I shouldn't have." You were interrupted by her leaning forward again. Her horns were right in front of your hands. You gulped. "Go on," she said, almost inaudible. Slowly reached out a finger and gently slid it up and down one of her curved horns. She squeaked when you reached its tip. Did it hurt?" you asked. "Oh, you can keep going if you want." You felt heat rise up in your face. Curiously, you began rubbing your hand against her horns. They resisted a little, but felt loose. Moving one horn moved the other, as if they were attached under her skin. After you pushed ever so slightly, she groaned. And again, you retreated your hand. "Please," she said. "Please don't stop." Why did this feel so lewd? You gulped. If she really liked it so much, what if you went a little rougher? You grabbed both horns and began gently massaging them with your thumbs. Mina whimpered, her body shivering with excitement. Small moans and gasps escaping her. You'd be lying if you said you didn't like it. You bit your lower lip. What if you went just a tiny bit further? Slowly, gently, you began pushing her horns back. Something dripped on your pants and you glanced down. She was drooling.
Sorry,
she gasped. You smiled mischievously. You ruined my pants, you said with an amused tone. And you bit your tongue. Another groan left her mouth when your hands returned to her head. With your left hand, you gently caressed her cheek, while with the other, you began jerking up and down her horn. Her body twitched, and you returned your left hand to her other horn, before pushing harshly to the point where their tips touched her scalp. It took her all her strength to not cry out. Her head was raised, mouth open in a silent scream, and her legs twitched. Then she fell on your lap. For a moment you weren't sure what to do. Mina was breathing heavily, head buried between your legs. Taking the opportunity, you gently petted her head. And you couldn't help yourself. Did you just... You asked amused. Shut up, she muffled into your lap. I think you did. She groaned, and your face turned red once more. Why were you feeling so proud? You two remained like this for a while, until she slowly raised her body off of you. If she would tell this to any of her friends, what would they say? What would they think? But she wanted to be touched more by you. We should go back to the dorms, she said after an awkward minute of silence. You were about to stand up when she grabbed your arm. I really enjoyed this day. You looked at her. Really enjoyed this day. Do you maybe want to do it again sometime soon? Are you saying you like me? She blushed and looked away. Maybe. You grinned. I like you too, Mina, you said softly. Then she took your hand in hers. Then let's get back to the dorms and tell everyone. There was a twinkle in her eyes. Man, this girl was just way too cute.